You hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence keeps this channel ad-free. Hey folks, welcome to Inkdependence. I'm Mike, and today we have this ink. This is Dominant Industries Lungo 116, and this is an ink that I tried for quite a while to get my hands on, and I was unsuccessful for quite a long time until I found a sample at Van Ness where I bought this sample, and you can too. So let's take a look at this on some paper. Since I don't have the full bottle, but these bottles are very cool looking. Just go ahead and check out a picture of these bottles. They're great. This is what this ink looks like on some paper. And you know I like a brown ink, but this one is a little bit on the boring side for me, which is too bad. I was a little bit disappointed, and that could just be because I found my favorite brown, which it turns out is a Vinta color called Pomona Brown. Check out the review. It's on my channel. But this Dominant Industry Lungo is a very nice brown. It's kind of a cool brown, as you can see here. Let's zoom in, and yeah, pretty cool brown here, maybe a little bit on the yellow side, I suppose. Medium wet, I would say. This is my usual Rhodia 80 grams per square meter paper, and as we'll see on the copy paper when we look at paper tests, there is some bleed and some feather. It's not great on the terrible paper, but it's fine. Qualities: mild shading and a mild scent. This is supposed to be a coffee-ish scent, I think. To me, it just smells vaguely herbal. It's a very slight scent. You probably won't notice it unless you stick your nose in the vial or in the bottle. I haven't smelled it at all in the pen. Let me actually just take another sniff. Yeah, I can't smell it at all in the pen, and it's in this pen and has been for quite a while. This is my Pilot Custom Heritage 91, which is a very nice pen. Had a double broad nib on it, which I had ground by Gina Celerino over at Custom Nib Studio. They do amazing grinds. This is the Perspective grind, which is kind of a teardrop shape, as you can see there. So I took it from a big blob of tipping down to this nice teardrop, which is just a joy to write with. And this ink has behaved really well in here, but it is just a little bit boring to me. Like, I kind of wanted some sheen. All the pictures I saw of this online had sheen, but there is none to be found in this ink. So a little bit of shading, very mild, rare scent, and just kind of a medium brown. So it's perfectly fine, but it's not blowing my doors off. Okay, let's go ahead and do a water drop test. We'll look at some comparable ink colors. We'll look at it on different papers. You know the whole jazz. Let's get this going. There we go. Not getting out of control. There we go. Good. A little time to ruin that text. We'll go ahead and wipe this away. It looks like it's actually doing okay. You can see some of it swirling around there, which is actually kind of a cool effect because there's so little of it. Looks like it's just coming off of like a couple of the dots and a little bit. Yeah, not too bad. All right, let's see what this is like when you mop it up. Remember, just mop a spill. Don't try to rub it. It'll just make it worse. Yeah, some water resistance, I would say. Like, it's sticking around. There is a little bit of a grayish or kind of a reddish tinge maybe that's sticking around, but when this dries, you'll totally be able to read that. A lot of the brown top layer and a little bit of like yellow came off, but nothing bad. I think that would totally work out if you spilled some water on it. Here's what the chromatography looks like right here. Really fun chromatography. You get this gray down here at the bottom. You get a pink band in here. You get an orangey kind of, salmony band up here. You get this like blue and green. Very complicated ink, this brown. A lot of browns are like that. They're made up of a bunch of different colors, which is why if you take a bunch of your ink and you mix it together and just willy-nilly, you're probably going to end up with brown. That's just kind of the way it goes. You'd think it'll be black. No, it'll probably just be really dark brown. And that's why. All right, so there's the chromatography. Let's look at this on a bunch of different papers. First up, our terrible copy paper. This is Staples 20-pound, 30% recycled copy paper. And as you can see, it's fine. There's a little bit of feathering. You can see here every once in a while. Right there. And then some bleed through. It's not great on here, but it's not the worst. Like, you can definitely see some more bleed through on these. This is, as I said, bad paper, and so you kind of expect that. What's this other one that bled through? Oh yeah, the Narwhal Mango. Interesting. But yeah, this one did some bleeding, but again, that is coming out of a pretty wet nib, this double broad Pilot, so not a huge surprise there was some bleeding on this bad paper, but maybe don't use this on your worst papers. Here it is on some Midori cotton. These Midori MD cotton pads are really great. They have a little corner chopped off. They have glue bindings on two sides. I really like them a lot. And Midori is just one of my favorite papers around. I don't use it for ink reviews because, as you can see, it is yellowy and not white, which is too bad. If they made it just in white in these pads, I would use it for ink reviews because it's great. But on here, you can see it actually looks very nice. I've got no issues with how Lungo turns out on this paper. It behaves itself really well. You get to see more of that shading. Yeah, it's pretty darn good. No bleed through or anything like that. Of course, Midori cotton paper rules. Then we have here our wheat straw paper, which is kind of normalish paper, but pretty darn good with fountain pens. And let's see, where is it? There it is up here. I put it in this pen in August. It's been in there for a little while. I've refilled it at least once since then, but it's just not really my favorite color. I like it perfectly well, but you know, it's just kind of, it's fine. So yeah, it looks good on this paper. I think it looks better on this paper than it does on Rodeo. Let's just do a little side-by-side real quick. Yeah, I think it actually looks better on this. I'm not sure why. Maybe it soaked in a little bit more than it did here. It just looks a little bit deeper and a little bit more interesting to me. Then, Galen's everyday book. This is Tomoe River. Everybody loves some Tomoe River paper. And there it is on Tomoe River, where, again, it looks totally fine. It's not, like I said, not blowing my doors off. It looks pretty okay. I think it looks better on wheat straw than it does on Tomoe River, which is kind of neat. But works perfectly fine there. Of course, no bleed through or anything weird like that. It's Tomoe River. So there we go. There's a whole bunch of different papers. Now let's take a look at some comparable ink colors. You know I have a big brown collection, so I will have plenty of these. So here is Dominant Industry Lungo. This is, of course, on a Cullo Dex card. You can find a link to those down in the description. You can find them at lots of places. This is Straits Pens Sepia, which is in the same color family for sure. It's actually quite a lot like Lungo. Not as dark, but it's really kind of similar otherwise. This is Diamine's Nutcracker, which was from the Inkvent calendar in 2019. And this actually is more like what I expected Lungo to be like, with a bit of sheen there. Not a huge amount, but some that you're not finding here. Then also Diamine Triple Chocolate. I've got a lot of these from the Inkvents. This is another one from the 2019 Inkvent. And you can see this one's a lot lighter. This one's actually lighter than either the Straits Pen Sepia or Lungo. And then lastly, Diplomat Pine Tree, which has like this cool shiny bit to it. I think that's pretty good. It's like pine bark. This is definitely a more yellowy, kind of orangey sort of brown than Lungo, which is just like, it's kind of cooler. So I thought this was yellowy until you put it next to that. Just kind of one of those things that's sort of comparative. But this one, perfectly good brown. And sometimes you can find this for a really good price. So the thing about Dominant Industry is that the prices are all over the place depending upon locale. So $8 at some sites overseas from me in the US, and then $17 at a lot of places in the US. So a big difference. $9 that's a fair amount of difference. So I probably pick up Dominant Industry when I go to other cult pens or things like that aren't in the US, where they don't have to charge as much. So find yourself a sample of this if you'd like. I got my sample at Van Ness Pens where I bought it. They're not particularly expensive in samples, $2 or $3, so no big deal, but definitely worth trying out. And, if you smelled this, let me know in the comments what you think this smells like, because I don't know. It's, like I said, a little herbally, but it's supposed to smell like coffee, and it just kind of doesn't. So there you go. That's it. Dominant Industries Lungo. I had a long hunt for this. A little disappointed. I'm on the fence about this one, but it's totally fine. And it's probably going to be somebody's favorite brown. So that's it. You'll see me in another video soon. Oh, hey, look at this graph up here. A lot of people still not subscribed. Let's get this to 100% subscribed. If you're not subscribed, that doesn't mean don't watch. That means just like, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Do that sort of thing. And until next time, think about what you put out in the world. Make it a better place, and peace out.